Hello everyone and welcome to Science Lab. The signs are happening because Jesus is coming. Every day we're looking at some of the great signs that are happening around us.
And in this episode, we are going to look at some of the technological advancements in these last days.
Big Pharma and Microsoft are teaming up in something called the ID 2020 Alliance that will combine vaccinations with implantable microchips to create your digital ID.
It's all happening. Big Pharma is officially partnering with the tech industry to pair immunization with digital biometrics, meaning humans will soon be microchipped, tracked, and ultimately controlled through a global identification matrix.
The ID 2020 Alliance, as it's being called, is a digital identity program that aims to leverage immunization as a means of inserting tiny microchips into people's bodies.
In collaboration with the Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunizations, also known as Gavi, the government of Bangladesh and various other partners in government, academia, and humanitarian relief, the ID 2020 Alliance hopes to usher in the mark of the beast as a way to keep tabs on every human being living on Earth. Similar to how cattle are marked with air tags, this globalist alliance wants all humans to be vaccinated with digital tracking chips that will create a seamless monitoring system for the new world order to manage the populations of the world with ease. While the ID 2020 program's testing grounds are primarily in the third world, the group says it's also now working with governments in the United States to start microchipping people through vaccinations. In Austin, Texas, for example, the homeless population is now being exploited as a collective guinea pig. For ID 2020's microchip vaccination program, which the group claims will help to empower homeless people by supposedly giving them control over their personal identity data. The ID 2020 is also jabbing refugees with its microchip vaccinations through two inaugural pilot programs known as iRespond and Everest. According to reports, iRespond has improved continuity of care for more than 3,000 refugees receiving drug treatments for chronic illness. Everest, on the other hand, has associated with the provisions of access to critical energy subsidies and a range of additional services with secure and user-centered digital identities without relying on a smartphone. All of this is primarily the public for an eventual mandate of microchip vaccinations, which will be required for every individual in order to buy and sell goods. Anil Chowdhury, a policy advisor at A2I, the Bangladesh government's Access to Information program, openly admitted this in stating that digital identity system will be necessary for individuals' access to services and livelihoods. ID 2020 announced plans to launch their first certificate mark for digital identity at the 2019 World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. The ID 2020 certification mark recognizes digital identity solutions that adhere to the highest standards for user management, privacy protection, portability, and interoperability. Globally, 1 in 7 people are unable to prove their identity through any recognized means. As a result, they lack access to basic legal protections and social services, are unable to participate fully as citizens and voters, and are systematically excluded from the modern economy. As the world economies are teetering on the edge of the near certain implosion from the man-made coronavirus panic, the ID 2020 has finished work on something they called their certification mark. The 2 main projects so far that have been received the ID 2020 certificate mark are Kiva Protocol and Gravity. Earth and both projects, as you might expect, center around the 3 things that ID 2020 is most interested in: buying, selling, and receiving a digital ID. But the work doesn't stop there. It goes deeper, much deeper. Prepare yourself for the ID 2020 COVID-19 immunity password that combines digital identity with vaccinations, blockchain, and nanotechnology. What if the government said that if you are agreed to take the vaccine and receive the ID 2020 digital immunity password, all your debt of any kind would be forgiven? Yep, that's how it will go. Welcome to the COVID-19 Immunity Passport. It is called COVID-19 Credentials Initiative, or CCI, and it is a global coven of tech entities like ID 2020, Microsoft, Bill Gates, the National Health Service in the UK, and Silicon Valley in America. The COVID-19 Credential Initiative is a collaboration of more than 60 organizations working to deploy verifiable credential solutions to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Their goal is simple. They want to enable society to return to normal in a controlled, measurable, and privacy-preserving way. The initiative is a direct response to the many calls of an immunity passport, a digital certificate that lets individuals prove that they have recovered from testing negative, have tested positives for antibodies, or have received a vaccination once one is available. By proving some level of immunity, individuals will be able to begin participating in everyday life again.
We have seen many technological advancements happening around us, but there is more to come. Don't go anywhere. We'll meet you again after a short break. Welcome back to Science Lab. The science are happening because Jesus is coming. Before the break, we saw about some of the technological advancements that is happening around us. And let's continue to explore even more. Oosterland is one of the small but growing number of people around the world who has a grain-sized NFC, also known as a near-field communication chip embedded in him. In fact, he is so convinced that this is the future that he has 2 of them, one in his hand and the other in his arm.
1 year ago, it was, "That's just stupid," or "Wow, that's awesome." But now multinational companies are looking into it, he said, pointing to cybersecurity firm cashless as an example. Punching in security codes to deactivate the alarm at his store became a thing of the past for Johan Osterlund, which he implanted a chip into his hand about 18 months ago. When he walked into my studio, he just waved his hand at the alarm, and the alarm turns off. Whenever someone shows up with security clearance, he will wave and the alarm is deactivated. The lights are turned on. It will start up the computer, the cash machine, and so on. The renowned cybersecurity company has brought in Osterland to carry out a live demonstration of chip implantation at the IFA Consumer Electronics Fair in Berlin. With a memory of just 880 bytes, the chips are far from the science fiction equivalent of data powerhouses carrying billions of encrypted secret documents. Rather, they tend to have specific functions such as unlocking a door or hooking up to an app or a smartphone. Despite the limited uses, human chip implant manufacturer Dangerous Things told AFP that there are now around 10,000 cyborgs, or humans with digital chips in them, across the globe. Or human with digital chips in them all across the globe. The phenomena is now new, with a club in Barcelona offering some implants to its members as early as 2004, allowing them to gain entrance and pay for their drinks within it. But its popularity has now accelerated with the ubiquity of smartphones, which can communicate with the chips. Evgeny Cheresnev, who also works for Kaspersky, got this chip. It felt weird for a couple of weeks. Then I started to understand that I have forgotten what it is to carry a badge to work. I have forgotten what it means to open a door with a key, he said. Described how, with a simple wave of his hand, he now enters a secure office building without punching in codes or taping a security card at the entrance. But such implants are not without risk, warns Kaspersky's research director Marco Prus, saying that a smartphone placed close to the chip, for instance, could easily pick up data. Osterlund said he had also weighed up the risk of someone trying to steal his chip through extreme violent means, but concluded that criminals were unlikely to go that far. As the world is hyper-focused on global vaccinations and digital IDs, COVID-19 pandemic is also spreading move to the cashless society of the end times. COVID-19 has accelerated the move of a cashless society in several regions. Cash cannot change hands at a distance of 6 feet. And besides, who want to grab that dirty bill? Sheltering at home means more purchases are being done over the internet. Those who join Cyber Club believe that getting in early allows them to secure a place at the forefront of a potential life-changing development. As the world is hyper-focused on global vaccinations and digital IDs, COVID-19 pandemic is spreading move to the cashless society of the end times. COVID-19 has accelerated the move of a cashless society in several regions. Cash cannot be changed at a distance of 6 feet, and besides, who wants to grab that dirty bill? Sheltering at the home means more purchases are being done over the internet. The move away from legal tender was well on its way pre-virus, some stores and eateries had stopped accepting cash altogether. If you are a sandwich shop doing a brisk lunch business, processing plastic takes less time than waiting for someone to fish 55 cents out of the pocket. The restaurant chain Sweetgreen ran a stopwatch and found a cashless payment could be completed up to 15% faster than one using paper money. That could enable businessmen to hire fewer of what we used to call cashiers. The Federal Reserve reports that debit cards are the most frequently mean of paying. Cash is employed in 26% of all the transactions and 49% of those under $10. But every age group up to the baby boomers is doing more of them using digital means and plastic than cash. Not surprisingly, millennials lead the pack. Despite these trends, a few states and cities have passed laws requiring businesses to accept cash. And here is why. Some elderly people still don't do technology. They don't even have a cell phone, much less a PayPal account for transferring money. Many people don't have credit cards or even bank accounts. Some 6.5% of American households are unbanked, according to the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. Cashless establishments discriminate against this group. While speaking at a press conference on May 4, 2020, Netanyahu suggested the health ministry use new technology to help Israel adjust to its new routine as the state is lifting the coronavirus lockdown. That is, technology has not been used before and is allowed under the legislation we shall enact. He clarified, I spoke with our heads of technology in order to find measures Israel is good at, such as sensors. For instance, every person, every kid, I want it on Kids First, would have a sensor that would sound an alarm when you go too close, like the one on cars, the Prime Minister said. Cyber experts slammed Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for his proposal to microchip children who return to school and kindergartens as the coronavirus lockdown is lifted. Things are happening very fast around us as we least expect it. We think that it is just a technological development, but they are the forerunners of the mark of the beast. We would have never thought that the mark of the beast would arrive in our lifetime. But like it or not, the fact is, it's right in the corner. Bible says that in the last days, the Antichrist will come to this world and introduce a universal mark of the beast.
He calls us all, both great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, and that no one may buy or sell except one, who has the mark or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Now here is wisdom. Let him who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. His number is 666.
What is mentioned in the Bible that are going to take place in the end times are taking place in our lifetime. All this shows that we are living in the last days and Lord Jesus Christ is coming again very soon.
Before we end today's episode, we would like to ask you a question. Which billionaire is involved in vaccine development and surveillance? Your three options are option A, Jeff Bezos, option B, Mark Zuckerberg, or option C, Bill Gates.
If you know the correct answer, send it to our email ID sciencelab@angeltv.org. If you have missed any of the episodes, don't worry. You can watch it again and again in our Science Lab YouTube page. But don't forget to like, share and comment on the video.
Ask your friends and relatives to watch Science Lab so that they will also know that we're living in the last days. Remember, the signs are happening because Jesus is coming. Maranatha.